The laughter started before the cameras even finished rolling. It wasn't the kind of laugh that fills a room with joy. It was the smug, careless kind that made everyone in the courtroom shift uncomfortably in their seats. Karen Mitchell thought she had already won. She sat at the plaintiff's desk with her arms crossed and her chin slightly tilted upward, as if the outcome was nothing more than a formality. She was here, she said, to expose a man who had lied about his income and cheated her out of rent money. To her, it was an open and shut case. But Judge Judy's eyes said otherwise. Before we dive into this incredible case, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where my viewers are around the world. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss more unbelievable cases like this one. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. There was something about Judy's stare, calm but razor sharp, that could slice through a story before it even began. "So," she said, tapping her pen lightly against her notepad, "you're claiming Mr. Cole hid his earnings from you?" Karen's tone dripped confidence. "Absolutely, Your Honor. He told me he was broke, but I know that man had money. He was working under the table, saving up while I covered everything." Her smile was smug, practiced, camera-ready. But there was one problem. Judy had already seen something. The audience didn't know it yet. Darren, the defendant, didn't know it either. But somewhere in Judy's file, a single manila folder lying face down on the bench, was a truth so clear it would flip the entire case upside down. It wasn't just about rent. It wasn't just about money. It was about a woman who had built her story on a lie so fragile that one piece of paper could bring it all crashing down. Judy leaned forward slightly. "You're saying you supported him completely?" Karen nodded. "Every single month. He used me, Your Honor." The corners of Judy's lips curled just slightly, almost like she'd heard this song before. "Well," she said softly, "we'll see who used who." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The audience fell silent. Even Karen's smile faltered for the briefest second, like she sensed that something unseen, was already working against her. The tension wasn't in the shouting or the drama. It was in Judy's calmness. The way she knew more than she let on. The way her eyes flicked once toward the folder, as if daring Karen to keep talking. Karen didn't notice. She kept digging deeper, talking faster, trying harder to sound innocent. And the more she spoke, the tighter Judy's silence became, like a trap closing slowly but surely. Somewhere between Karen's exaggerated sighs and her self-righteous tone, Judy quietly turned over the folder. Inside it were the records Karen hoped no one would ever see. And when they came out, everything she said, every word, every tear, every lie, would burn away under the heat of the truth. If you've ever seen someone try to outsmart Judge Judy and fail spectacularly, comment the word justice right now, because this story is about to get very real. Karen Mitchell had a gift, not for truth, but for performance. The moment Judge Judy gave her the floor, she transformed from a nervous plaintiff into a polished actress. Her words flowing like lines she'd rehearsed in front of a mirror the night before. She folded her hands dramatically on the table, tilted her head just enough to look sympathetic, and began spinning her tale. "Your Honor, I took Darren into my home when he had nowhere to go," she began, her voice quivering with just the right amount of false humility. "He told me he'd lost his job, that he couldn't afford rent, and that he just needed a little help until things got better. So I helped him. I paid the bills. I kept the lights on. And this is how he repays me, by lying about his income." The audience shifted, murmuring softly. Judge Judy didn't react. She simply nodded once, jotting something down on her pad. Karen took that as a green light and kept going. "He told me he was broke, but then I saw him posting pictures from restaurants online. I saw new clothes. He was living it up while I was struggling to keep things together. And now he says I'm the problem." She gave a bitter laugh. "I just want what's fair, Your Honor. I deserve to be reimbursed for what I spent." The way she said deserve lingered in the air. It was a word she clung to like armor. Judy's expression didn't move, but her silence had weight. It was the kind of silence that made even the confident one start to sweat. "Ms. Mitchell," Judy said finally, her tone even but cold, "how much exactly do you believe he owes you?" Karen straightened up, clearly pleased with the question. $2,040, Your Honor." Rent, utilities, food, everything. Did you keep receipts? Karen hesitated. Not all of them. But I know what I spent. Judy's pen stopped mid-stroke. She looked up, eyes sharp. You know what you spent. But you can't prove it. Karen stammered. Well, some of it was cash, and... That's not how this works, Ms. Mitchell. Judy's tone was clipped now, like a warning shot across a bow. You're in a courtroom. You don't get paid back for generosity. You get paid back for proof. The audience chuckled quietly, and Karen's eyes darted around in irritation. She forced a smile, trying to recover her rhythm. I understand, Your Honor. But it's not just about the receipts. It's about the lies. He told me he didn't have a job. He said he was applying everywhere, but I later found out he was already working and getting paid under the table. That line landed with confidence. It was her strongest card, or so she thought. But Judy's expression didn't change. She leaned back slightly, pen tapping softly. And how did you find that out? Judy asked. Karen smirked, mistaking the question for curiosity. A friend of mine saw him at a car wash. He was working there, getting cash directly from customers. He tried to hide it, but I knew. He was lying to me while pocketing money. That's fraud, isn't it? Judy didn't answer immediately. She let the pause linger, a tactic she perfected over decades. Fraud is a big word, Ms. Mitchell, she said finally. Be careful throwing it around. Karen crossed her arms, muttering under her breath. He defrauded me, and now I'm the one on trial. Judy raised an eyebrow. No one said you're on trial. But if you come in here accusing someone of fraud, you'd better have something stronger than gossip from a friend at a car wash. The audience laughed again, softly, but enough to sting. Karen's cheeks flushed pink. She pressed her palms on the desk and leaned forward. I'm not lying, Your Honor. I know what I saw. I know what he did. He was making money behind my back. Judy folded her hands together, her tone deceptively calm. And you can prove that. Karen blinked. I told you. I didn't ask what you told me, Judy interrupted. I asked if you can prove it. The tension cracked through the room like thunder. Darren hadn't said a single word yet, but his calmness was starting to stand out against Karen's desperation. The way he sat, straight-backed, unbothered, quiet, made her look even more unstable. Karen tried again. Your Honor, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't telling the truth. Judy gave a half-smile. That's what everyone says. There was no music, no cue, no dramatic sound effect. Just silence, and the faint, rhythmic tapping of Judy's pen against her notepad. Then, in a tone so casual it almost felt surgical, Judy said, You claim he was lying about his income. You claim he had money. And you're confident about that? Karen nodded fast. Absolutely. Judy leaned back. Good. She turned a page in her notes. Because I have a feeling we're about to find out exactly who was lying. Karen froze. She didn't know it, but the trap had already been set. The courtroom fell into an uneasy stillness, broken only by the sound of Judy's pen gliding one final line across her notepad. A quiet signature of control. Somewhere beneath the desk, inside a sealed envelope, lay the very proof Karen had unknowingly dared the court to find. And when it appeared, every confident word she had spoken would turn against her. For the first time since the hearing began, Darren Cole finally raised his eyes. Until now he'd sat still, shoulders square, hands folded, patience carved into every breath. The kind of calm that made people underestimate him. Judge Judy turned toward him with that familiar, almost disarming authority. Mr. Cole, she said, you've heard Ms. Mitchell's claims. What do you have to say? Darren cleared his throat softly. His voice wasn't defensive, it was tired, steady, and brutally honest. Your Honor, everything she said sounds nice, but it's not true. I never lied about my income. I told her I was between jobs, and I showed her exactly what I was making from part-time work. She saw my pay slips. She knew. Karen scoffed loudly, shaking her head, but Judy raised a hand. Ms. Mitchell, you'll wait until he's finished. Darren nodded gratefully and continued. She told me not to worry about the rent until I got back on my feet. Then, a month later, she started telling people I was taking advantage of her. I offered to pay her back when my job stabilized, but she blocked me. Now she's saying I owe her thousands for money she never spent. He reached into a small folder and pulled out a printed sheet of transactions. His movements were simple, untheatrical, but precise. This, he said, sliding the paper forward, is my bank record from that time. Every payment I made to her, rent, groceries, utilities. You'll notice her name on each transfer. Karen's face changed instantly. It was subtle but sharp, a microsecond of panic, before she forced a smirk. That doesn't prove anything, she said quickly. He could have faked that. Anyone can print a paper. Judy took the sheet, studying it carefully. Her silence stretched, deliberate. These look real to me, she said finally. Dates match. Descriptions match. And, Ms. Mitchell, one of these shows you sending money back to him. Care to explain that? Karen's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked from Judy to Darren, searching for an answer that wouldn't sound like an excuse. That was something else, she stammered. He lent me cash once, and I paid him back. It's not related. Judy leaned back, eyes narrowing. So the man who was supposedly living off you was also lending you money? The audience laughed softly, a ripple of irony echoing through the courtroom. Darren didn't smile. He didn't need to. His silence said enough. Judge Judy's tone cooled into precision. Mr. Cole, I'll review the rest of these records, but for now, it seems your story is backed by proof. Ms. Mitchell, yours is backed by feelings. Karen looked furious. That's not fair. Judy's reply was instant. What's not fair is wasting this court's time with half a story. You'd better hope I don't find what I think I'm about to find. The air grew thick again. Somewhere deep inside, Karen realized the performance was over. The evidence had started talking, and it was louder than her lies. The temperature in the room shifted the moment Judge Judy opened the folder. It was a slow, deliberate motion, one that made even the studio audience lean forward in their seats. The crisp sound of paper filled the silence. Karen tried to smile, but it was the kind of smile that hides a tremor. She clasped her hands tightly on the desk, her knuckles whitening. Judy flipped through a few pages, then stopped, her eyes sharpening on something the cameras couldn't yet see. Ms. Mitchell, Judy began slowly, you said Mr. Cole lied about his income, correct? Karen nodded quickly, seizing her chance to speak again. Yes, Your Honor. He told me he was barely making enough to eat, and yet. Judy raised a single finger, and the words died in Karen's throat. And yet, Judy continued, these statements show something very different. Karen blinked. Statements. Judy turned one page around and set it on the desk. Your bank statements, Ms. Mitchell. The ones you conveniently forgot to mention. Karen froze. Her face drained of color. My bank statements? Yes. Judy's tone was flat, like a judge who had already seen this movie too many times. You see, when you file a claim accusing someone of withholding money, you're required to submit your own financial records for review. These were subpoenaed before the hearing. Did you not realize that? The audience murmured. A low wave of realization swept across the room. Darren looked stunned but silent, watching as the balance of power shifted entirely. Karen tried to gather herself. Your Honor, I didn't know they'd actually pull those. I mean, that's private. Nothing's private in this courtroom, Judy cut in sharply, especially when you make someone else's finances your business. She flipped another page. The sound of it might as well have been thunder. Now let's see here, Judy said, scanning the document. During the months you claim you were supporting Mr. Cole, I see deposits totaling $4,200 and withdrawals for spa treatments, clothing stores, and a weekend trip to Palm Springs. The audience gasped. Judy didn't look up. Does that sound like a woman struggling to keep the lights on? Karen's lips parted, but no words came out. Her eyes darted from the papers to Darren, then back to Judy. That money, it came from savings. I wasn't. Judy snapped the folder shut. The sound echoed through the courtroom. Don't finish that sentence unless you want to dig deeper, Ms. Mitchell. For the first time, the silence was heavy on Karen's side. Her practiced confidence had evaporated, replaced by something raw and uncomfortable. Fear. She shifted in her chair, fumbling with the edge of her sleeve as if it could distract her from the weight of her own story crumbling around her. Judy leaned forward, her tone quieter now, but infinitely sharper. You came in here claiming this man lied about his money. You said you carried him, fed him, kept him afloat. Yet your own records show consistent spending that says otherwise. How do you explain that? Karen swallowed hard. Your Honor, he was supposed to help with the bills, and... He did help with the bills, Judy interrupted, tapping the folder with her pen. I have evidence of multiple payments from Mr. Cole to you, directly into your account. Amounts that line up almost exactly with the rent and utilities you're claiming you covered yourself. So let's be clear here. He paid you. You just didn't expect anyone to prove it. The audience murmured again, louder this time. Darren kept his head down, eyes steady, as if holding back the relief rising in his chest. Karen tried one last push. Those payments weren't for rent. They were for other things, like groceries and gas. Judy gave a dry laugh. That's interesting. Because here's the grocery store statement, purchased by you, using his card, on 3 separate occasions. Karen froze again. Her mouth opened, then shut, her eyes darting around, as if she might find an escape route written on the walls. Judy tilted her head slightly, the faintest trace of a smirk crossing her face. You're not very good at hiding paper trails, are you? The room was silent again. Just the sound of Judy's pen scratching a single note onto her pad. She didn't need to raise her voice. Her calmness was the weapon. Ms. Mitchell, Judy said finally, when people come into this courtroom, they usually bring one of 2 things, truth or performance. You brought performance. And unfortunately for you, the paperwork doesn't lie. Karen slumped back in her chair. Her voice, once sharp and confident, had softened into something brittle. I didn't mean to. Judy cut her off. You didn't mean to get caught. That's what you didn't mean. The audience chuckled again, but Judy's face stayed serious. She turned to Darren. Mr. Cole, thank you for being patient. I'll be reviewing these records fully before I make my ruling. But so far, everything you've provided checks out. And everything she said falls apart. Karen's hands trembled now. Your Honor, please, this isn't what it looks like. Judy's eyes lifted slowly. It looks like you lied under oath, Ms. Mitchell. It looks like you came here to collect money you don't deserve. And it looks like you were hoping no one would check your own account. Is that wrong? Karen didn't answer. She couldn't. The silence said it all. For a moment, Judy simply studied her. This woman who had come in polished, perfect, and proud, now reduced to quiet panic. Then Judy spoke softly, her tone final and cold. Lying about someone else's money is one thing. Lying about your own, that's another story entirely. And I have a feeling that story's about to get much worse for you. Karen looked down. Her reflection stared back from the glossy tabletop, smaller now, less sure, less proud, less powerful. And for the first time that day, she stopped talking. The evidence had spoken louder than she ever could. The courtroom had gone still. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate, as if they knew something irreversible was about to happen. Judge Judy reached for a sealed manila envelope beside her bench, the one no one had noticed until now. She slid it open with the slow precision of someone who already knew what was inside. Ms. Mitchell, she said quietly, before we go any further, I'd like you to take a look at this. Karen leaned forward, hesitant. Judy unfolded a paper, the official printout of Karen's full bank statements. The kind that left no room for interpretation. No more stories. No more pretending. These, Judy continued, are your transactions for the months in question. You declared you had no savings, no income, and no support from Mr. Cole. Yet I see deposits here, multiple, totaling more than $3,000. Each one labeled rent or utilities. Care to explain that? Karen froze. Her lips parted, but the words refused to form. Your Honor, that's not what it looks like. Judy's gaze sharpened. Then enlighten me. What does it look like? Karen's voice wavered. Those payments were temporary. He was just what? Judy snapped. Paying his share, like any responsible adult? The same share you came in here, claiming you covered alone. Karen looked down, cheeks flushed. The audience murmured. Every whisper carried the weight of truth, closing in. Judy flipped to the final page. "And here's the part you really hoped I wouldn't find," she said. "A withdrawal to your own savings account 2 days before filing this case, for the exact amount you're suing for." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Karen's eyes widened. "That's not." "Oh, it's exactly what it is," Judy cut in. "You weren't chasing justice. You were chasing profit." For a long second, no one spoke. Judy's voice dropped to a whisper, calm, cold, absolute. "You didn't just lie to him, Ms. Mitchell. You lied to me. And that's the worst mistake anyone can make in this courtroom." Karen slumped back, defeated. The case wasn't about money anymore. It was about exposure. And she'd just been stripped bare. If you think Judge Judy handled that perfectly, drop the word truth in the comments, because this is justice you can feel. The storm had passed, but the silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Karen sat motionless, her once confident shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the glossy desk in front of her. The papers lay scattered like fragments of her own story. Every number, every date, every lie she thought would stay hidden now staring back at her in black and white. Judge Judy didn't gloat. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her power came from the quiet way she let truth do the talking. She folded the last page neatly, placed it back in the envelope, and spoke in a tone so calm it cut sharper than anger ever could. "Ms. Mitchell," she began, "there's something I've learned after all these years in this courtroom. People don't lie because they're evil. They lie because they think it'll make life easier. But it never does. It just postpones the moment you have to face yourself." Karen swallowed hard, her hands trembling. "I wasn't trying to." "Yes, you were," Judy said softly, finishing the sentence for her. "You wanted to win so badly, you forgot what honesty sounds like. You thought the truth was small enough to bend. It isn't." The audience sat still, no laughter now, only a strange, sober respect. Judy turned to Darren, her tone gentler. "Mr. Cole, you've shown restraint and patience here today. You didn't need to shout to be heard. You just brought the facts. That's how adults handle conflict." Darren nodded quietly. "Thank you, Your Honor." Judy looked back at Karen, her final words landing with the weight of a verdict and the mercy of a lesson. "Let this be a reminder. When you lie to make yourself look right, you end up proving the opposite. Character isn't about what you say when the cameras are on. It's about what your receipts say when they aren't." Karen's eyes filled with silent regret. There was no comeback, no defense left. Just a hard truth echoing louder than her pride ever did. As Judy signed the final ruling, the gavel didn't need to fall. The lesson already had. The episode ended, but the impact didn't. Within hours of airing, the clip was everywhere. Judge Judy exposes Karen's bank lies became the headline splashed across social media. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of comments, and one common theme beneath them all. Don't lie where truth keeps records. People weren't just watching for entertainment anymore. They were watching for justice. That rare, satisfying kind of truth that didn't need editing or spin. Commenters wrote things like, "She thought she could beat Judy with a story, but the receipts beat her first. And this is why Judge Judy is still the queen of truth." Karen, however, wasn't celebrating. The woman who had strutted into court certain of her victory now found herself the internet's newest lesson in arrogance. Clips of her forced smile and crumbling confidence went viral. Memes circulated of Judy's piercing stare with captions like, "The face that sees through lies." For the first time, Karen's voice, the one that filled the courtroom so confidently, had gone completely silent. Meanwhile, Darren returned home to a flood of supportive messages. Strangers thanked him for staying calm, for letting the truth speak louder than anger. His quiet integrity had resonated with people who'd been wrongly accused, people who'd been shouted over, people who believed that eventually honesty catches up in the best way. And Judge Judy? She didn't post, didn't boast, didn't celebrate. She simply ended her day the same way she began it, closing her notebook, stacking her files, and reminding herself why she still does this after all these years. In a brief interview later, she was asked what made this case different. Her reply was simple. "Nothing makes it different," she said. The truth always looks the same. It just waits for someone brave enough to uncover it. The clip ended there, her words echoing across millions of screens. And for once everyone agreed. It wasn't just about who won. It was about what the world saw when a lie met its limit. If this story made you respect Judge Judy even more, hit like, comment Justice Wins, and subscribe, because in this courtroom, truth always gets the last word.